What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Getting After It podcast. I'm Brett Rossell, your host, and I missed you all. I'm happy to be back in this seat and doing my thing, getting the podcast up and running. I love recording these episodes, and today I was thinking about what I wanted to discuss. This race I have coming up. So on Saturday, I'll be running 31 miles in Canyonlands. To some, that sounds like I'm crazy. I'm absolutely insane. To others, that's just a normal Saturday. But to me, it means something completely different. It's a special thing for me, really. Because what it is, it's an opportunity for me to test myself after months of training, months of trying to get into shape to be able to do my best on this race. And Saturday, we're going to see if all that work has paid off. I'm going to do my best. I'm not necessarily worried about time. My most important thing, at least for me, with this race is completion. Like I want to make sure that I get this done. I want to have a better experience than my last 50K. So today I want to talk about 5 things that I've used in my training, this training block, that have helped me stay focused, stay on track, hit milestones, stay motivated, and stay disciplined through the whole thing. So we'll talk about those, but this isn't just going to be an episode about running. I want to make that clear. I'm going to be talking about running quite a bit. It's a great metaphor, and it's a great analogy that I'll be able to tie into how these principles that I've used for training also apply to everyday life and other goals that you might have for yourself. So I want you to kind of put yourself in your own shoes wherever you're at. Think about the goals that you have and how these certain principles can translate over to those areas and help you get one step closer to your goals. That's what Getting After It's all about. It's not about being perfect. It's not about being the best. It's not about, just grinding until you have nothing left to give. What Getting After It is about is making slow progress. Not slow. I wouldn't say slow. Progress sometimes can be slow, but the goal with this podcast, with this community, is to help you stay motivated, to stay on track, to have these resources that when you do feel like you're faltering or you feel like you're getting off track, it helps you brings you right back, right? And so the first thing I want to talk about that applies to my training block is the idea of the work. And let me be clear. The work is the ticket to the starting line. Without it, it's not going to get you very far. How you prepare for any race is how you're going to show up on race day. Like, you have to be focused. You have to be driven. You have to stay consistent. You have to show up when you don't want to. And there are days where I didn't want to do it. Like, even yesterday, I was, like I said, this race is this weekend. So yesterday was a little bit of a lighter training day. It was just half marathon out in the trails, which leading up to the 50K, got all the way up to a marathon distance. So this was kind of nice for me. It was kind of a break. I was feeling great. One of the best runs I've had in a long time until around mile 6, and I fell. You can kind of see on my hands, it's still all jacked up. My knee looks worse. It was bleeding and it was hurting. And I was like, I still have to go back to the car. I could have, from where I was at, I could have gone back to the car. It would have came out to be like a 9-mile run. And I could have blamed it on the fall, the injury, whatever you want to say. But I was determined because I've told myself in my head, the race, you have no idea what's going to happen to you. It could be raining. You could fall at the beginning of the race and have blood going down your knees. Is that a good reason for you to quit? It depends on the severity of the injury, but I would say, for me, in that moment yesterday when I was like, I'm going to just go back to the car, call it 9 miles, and be good, I told myself, no, that's not what we sought out to do. Like, are you okay? Can you still run? Are your hands are just bloody and uncomfortable, or your knee, it's bloody and bruised, but are you still okay? Like, can you still get out and go? And the answer was yes. So I had to dig deep, and I had to put those little painful thoughts aside that wanted me to quit, and it was hard to ignore them. But that work, I know, will have trained me for if something does go wrong in the race, I will already have been prepared and say, hey, I've dealt with things like this before. I can keep going. I know what needs to happen. Like, that's the thing is you can't cheat the work. Tomorrow, like if you say, I'm going to push it off till tomorrow, tomorrow becomes next week. And next week becomes next month, and next month becomes never. Like, throw that out of your to-do list. You're not going to do it. Might sound harsh, but that's human nature. That's how kind of we all operate. Is if we're not bought into the thing that we're doing, and we start missing days, we start getting lazy, we start not really being in it for the long run. We start losing sight of the vision, and we lose sight of the goal. And comfort decides for us that we'd rather have it a little bit easier today. You know, whatever the scenario might be. But that is a trap that many of us can fall into. Is if you miss a few days, you could be telling yourself, like, maybe I'm not set out for this. Or you could be telling yourself, hey, I missed a few days. Let's reset. Let's get back on track. It's up to you. But also, I think back to 2 weeks ago when my brother and I, we ran a marathon on a treadmill because the area we were going to go, it was basically just a bunch of washes in the desert of Arizona and lots of flash floods. We got rained out basically. So we decided, hey, the work still needed to be done. We still had to go out and get the 26.2 miles, and we were going to either figure out how to get it done on roads which were flooded, or we're going to just go and get it done on a treadmill. We decided for the treadmill because we wanted to get it done. We wanted to make sure there were no excuses. And it was not glamorous. It was not like the most exciting marathon I've ever done. It was on a treadmill. And it was 3 hours and 44 minutes. It was horrible. But anyways, that's still, it was important because we had to get it done. And I know that training from the treadmill run that I did with Drew, it'll help me stay strong in the actual race because I'll be like, hey, you know what? If things get boring, I know I can run a marathon on a freaking treadmill, so I can do this. This is fine. But that's the importance of doing the work. It builds evidence that you are who you say you are. And it builds that proof that, hey, you're going to be fine on this race. You've trained enough for it. You're going to be fine. And again, that's not just for running, because you can apply that principle to everything that you do in business. It's just, oh, let me back up. You could do it in business. You could do it in your relationships. You can do it in your hobbies. You can do it in really anything that you are trying to accomplish in your life. The work is your preparation. The work is your practice, whatever you want to call it. But the work is you showing up for the thing on a regular basis. When it's hard, when it's not easy, and that's life. How are you going to show up when life is hard, when life is not going the way that you expected it to? Are you going to still get the work done? Because like I said at the beginning, the work you do is your ticket to the starting line. Like, you don't get to show up on race day without it. So think about the things that you're trying to accomplish. What's the work that you need to be doing on a regular basis to get you there? To get you to the next level, which will immediately or eventually get you to your goal, right? And so, takeaway from you in this section is ask yourself, what are you avoiding? Like, what is the thing that is difficult and you know it's going to take a lot of effort and you're procrastinating? What is that thing? Where are you waiting for motivation to show up instead of just showing up yourself? Like, put in the reps. Earn your spot at the starting line. And the work is the way to do that. Equally as important as the work is the fuel. Now, fueling for a race. I want to explain why this is so important for anyone who might not be runners out there. But fuel will make or break your races. And what I mean by fuel is food, electrolytes, water, all that kind of stuff, right? And you have to dial in your fueling before you go on a race. Because if you just go out and try new things when you're in a race, that could lead to you bonking, that could lead to you shitting your pants, that could lead to you feeling terrible and not having any energy. And so prior to the race, you need to experiment during your runs with fuel to make sure that you're feeling good and all that stuff that allows you to perform the best. So we're talking calories, carbs, electrolytes, and caffeine a lot of the times. Yeah, you mess this up and you'll bonk. Like, it's so important. And I've had moments where I have struggled with fueling. Like my first marathon, I didn't know anything about this stuff. I didn't know anything about nutrition. I didn't really know anything about a strong training plan. I didn't know anything about that stuff. And it's until you start experimenting, you start learning, that you start to feel better. And it's so interesting because at the beginning of my training block, I was like, I don't want to eat when I'm running. I don't want to slow down. I don't want to just eat a bunch of candy, like whatever it is. I was like, that can't be good for me. I'm just going to do it and push myself. The problem I was having there is I would get into a run and about 10 miles in, I would feel exhausted and I wanted to quit. And it wasn't until recently where I was just like, screw it. I'm just going all in on fuel. And so I would eat goos. I would eat candy. Candies actually, I think they're better than goos. For me, at least. Like, I like them a lot more. One, I always enjoy eating candy. Who doesn't? So it's something I always look forward to on my runs. And then two, it tastes better than goos. And basically, if you look at the ingredients, it's basically just sugar in both of those things. So why not eat candy? It's great. And then also protein, like all that kind of stuff, electrolytes, like experiment with all that. But fuel is your food. And that is what's going to make you successful in a race. It's going to help you endure more. It's going to help you have more energy throughout the run. So that's why fuel is so important. But it is an important piece for me to be able to recover. It's important for me to be able to show up and feel strong for the next day. Be able to stay out longer on the trails and be able to be stronger with my time on feet. So that's basically why fuel is so important, because fuel can make or break your entire running. But along those lines, fuel is also what you consume mentally. Like your brain, whatever you put into your mind, that is also your fuel. And that's the podcast that you listen to. So hopefully this is a good one for you. It's the conversations that you have with people, and it's the people that you follow, the content you're seeing all the time. And a lot of the times, like, I will ask myself, is what I'm seeing on social media or is the podcast I'm listening to, is it worth my time? Am I learning something? Sometimes, like, I do have podcasts I listen to where it's basically just for entertainment, and that's fine too. Like, I think that's okay. Like, you don't want to be a robot and just be super hyper fixated on what comes in and out. But it is very important, because what you listen to becomes what you think about, and what you think about becomes who you are. And you want to be adding things to your library in your brain that are helpful, that are motivating, that help you in times when you are struggling. And so if you're just sitting around listening to people on TikTok explaining their problems, or I don't know what people watch on TikTok, but all I'm saying is that you must audit what's going into your brain. You must take a step back every now and then and say, is this knowledge worth my time? Is this making me smarter, or is it making me dumber? And a lot of the times when I go on TikTok, it tries to make me dumber. Even Instagram Instagram too. But I go on there and I'm like, I feel like I'm just losing brain cells. So I've tried getting off social media just a little bit, and it's been nice, honestly. But there are also times where I go on social media and I feel motivated. Like, I see David Goggins finishing the Moab 240, which is an unbelievably difficult race in southern Utah. And I see that guy who has countless knee surgeries and who has legs that don't work great. Like, I saw him cross the finish line and he obviously looked like he was in pain, but he did it. And so, like, that's a good thing for me to see, is like, hey, this guy knows how to push himself. It is possible to have legs that are destroyed and still be able to run a 240-mile race. That's pretty cool. And so when I started paying attention to what I'm putting in both physically and mentally, I started seeing a difference. Like, my runs got stronger, but also so did my mindset. And that's one of the reasons why I want to have this podcast in general is because there's some things I wish I would have known when I was younger that could really have helped me in the time that I might have needed it. But it's also an opportunity for me to help others learn from my mistakes, from the lessons I've learned, and hopefully it leaves a positive impact. That's the goal with this. And when I started feeling my mind and my body kind of in tangent with one another, like kind of the same fuel, right? Good whole foods, and same thing with like the information I'm studying. It's like I want good content. I want things that are going to make me better. And so I would audit what your fuel is. And that could be both physical, like your food, and mental. What's going into your brain? Like, what are you consuming that gives you energy and motivation to keep going? And what's draining you? Make some kind of change. Because what you put in is what you're going to get out. Like I said in the middle of that one, what you listen to, what you look at, becomes your thoughts, which becomes who you are. Support is the next thing that we're going to talk about today, because support is something that is critical for really anyone that's going after a big goal. Like, you have to have some kind of support. And if I've learned anything in this training block, it's that no race is ever run alone. And I'll get into that, but you know, I'll be the one with sore legs on Saturday after our race, but I would not have been able to make it to the start line without the support that I have with me. And I'm training with my wife and my brother for this race. They're both doing it as well. And it makes it easier because, of course, they're doing the same thing. We have the same goal, so we hold each other accountable. We're making sure that everyone's feeling strong and ready for this thing. And for me personally, you know, I am so grateful for like the fact that I have Allie and Drew doing this with me. Like, Allie puts up with all my training. She does the same. And we have different schedules, but like some days I'll get home from work and have to go on a run. And, you know, we don't see each other very much. So she puts up with that, which is pretty amazing, especially on the long training days. She's very patient. And Drew, he's logged countless miles with me by my side. And it's been fun, you know, with him. Like, we're learning, we're growing together, we're building our endurance, and it's been so cool to be able to share that experience with him so far. And it's true what they say, you know, suffering with someone makes you closer to that person. It's been a blessing to be able to run with Drew. Like, we've had some great conversations. I ran with Allie a few times. She doesn't like running with me, because she says I'm too fast, but I don't care, Al. Like, I'll go as slow as you need. You're fast though. Allie's fast. She likes to downplay it. She's pretty fast. She ran a half marathon the other day, and at the end of it ran like a 7-minute mile. So she's pretty fast. Shout out to Cakes. But anyways, having people by your side who you can rely on, who you can ask questions for, is really a game changer when it comes to pursuing your goals. Like, there is a saying, you can go fast alone, but farther together. And I felt that. And with this pillar, I'll call it, it's difficult because not everyone has the opportunity to find some kind of support groups. They don't have people in their lives that are cheering them on. They don't have cheerleaders like Allie for me. There's people out there who, you know, don't have a supportive family. They don't have supportive friends. And that's a hard place to be. I've been there a few times where it kind of feels like you're alone. But the beautiful thing is, with technology and with so many things out there, you know, if running's your goal, if that's what you want to do, run clubs have been popping up everywhere. And so I'm sure you could do a quick search on Facebook or wherever and say like running groups in Wichita. Like, I don't know, random place. Like, I'm sure you can find something there. Also, you know, I kind of shot social media in the foot, just like by talking crap about it. But social media is great for connecting with people. Like, that's what the purpose originally was. Now it's kind of just like to brag and do random crap. But try and connect with someone. Like if there's someone at work that likes to run, ask them if there's a time where you guys can get together and you can run together. I don't know. But if you need support, if you're trying to seek out support, one, reach out to me. I will always support anyone who's trying to do great things. I'm always here. Even if it's just you're trying to make some life changes, I will always be someone who you can reach out to. That's what getting after it is about, is building a community of people who are all in the same mindset, who all have the same goal, not goals, but the same drive and the same hunger to become the best version of themselves that they can be. And so eventually I want it to be able to, reach across the US, eventually the world, and have people just in this community who are like, yeah, let's go. Let's bring the heat. Hey, you know what? Why not? I'll go on a run. Or, if someone's like, hey, I'm struggling, I want people to be like, hey, this is what I was in that similar situation. Here's what I did. This is what helped me. Could help you. Like, I want people supporting other people. That's what's going to make this thing great, is if we're all in it together and we're all trying to make each other into great people and achieve their goals. That's the thing. That's what we got to do. That's what getting after it's about. And that's why support is so important, because like I said, you can go fast alone, but farther together. Excuse me. I mean, it's very different. Like I said, everyone's in a different situation, but maybe text one person today that supported you recently and just thank them. Like, don't assume they know how grateful you are. Like, you'll be surprised by how much it matters to those people who do support you. And so try and find one person who supported you and just send them a text. Say thank you, because support goes a long way. We only get stronger together. Now, the fourth pillar arguably might be the most important, consistency. I've talked a lot about consistency on this podcast, but there's a reason for it. It's because consistency is what gets you to the finish line. If the work gets you to the starting line, consistency is what's going to pull you across the finish line. Consistency is showing up on the hardest days. Consistency in general is just boring. Like, it's not a flashy or sexy thing to talk about, but it is everything. Consistency is everything. Anyone can go crush one big workout. Anyone can go show up and run a long distance and call it good. But can you show up for months? That's the real question. Can you show up for months when it's hard, when it's cold, when you're tired, when you're sick, when you have no motivation, when you question if this is even the right path for you? Consistency is what builds the base, week after week, mile after mile. Some days the hardest part, sometimes it's not even the workout or the run. It's putting your shoes on. As weird as that sounds, because you know what's going to happen next once you put those shoes on. You're going to have to do the work. You're going to have to show up, even when you don't want to. That's hard. You have to confront those feelings. But the boring stuff, that's what wins races. Like, this applies everywhere. Like I said, I'm talking about running, but it's universal, this principle of being consistent. Like, you want to build a career? You want to build a relationship? You want to build a body that you're proud of? Guess what? I have some news for you. It's not built on one giant effort. It's built on those daily unsexy steps, on showing up, on trying to be your best, even when it's hard. But consistency is crucial for anything that you do. Like, a piano player isn't going to be great overnight. He or she is going to have trained for years to get to the point to where they're playing Clair de Lune like a master. Like, that takes a lot of work. It takes practice. It takes patience. It takes consistency. And consistency is the easiest one to throw out the boat. It's like I was saying earlier with the work is, you might want to put something off. Today you might not feel like going out and running or working out or anything like that. You just might have no motivation. Are you going to push it off? Because if you do, you're going to lose momentum. And momentum is the fuel that keeps consistency going. It's so much easier to, do something one day and then show up and do it again the next, and then keep that cycle going. But as soon as you throw in a little wrench in those areas, once you make it a challenge for yourself to be able to get back on track, that activation energy is a real thing. It's going to take a lot more effort for you to start again. And so consistency, one thing that's helped me that I think can also help you is even on the days when you have no motivation, you have nothing left to give, you just go through the motions. You show up and you still go through the motions. I promise you, you'll be proud of it. Even if it's not your best, it's something, and that's better than nothing. And so when those times come, when it's difficult, just show up for yourself. Show up for the fact that you will know that you fought those thoughts of quitting. You fought those thoughts of comfort, and you're here now. And that's something that you should be proud of. And so that's a tool that's helped me, is on days when I literally have nothing to give, when I'm tired, when I'm done, I just go through the motions. And that's a lesson I take from Jocko, where he says that, like, if all you can do is go through the motions, then go through the motions. There's nothing wrong with that. We're not going to be perfect every day. Getting after it is a journey that looks a lot like the stock market. It's up and down, but eventually, if you look at it over a few years, eventually it's net positive. So that's the power of consistency. And consistency compounds. If we want to take the stock market analogy and take it a little further, consistency compounds. But the reason it does is because of momentum. Lastly, the last pillar we're going to talk about today is patience. This one might be the hardest for me, if I'm being completely honest. Being patient sucked. Wow, I cannot talk today for some reason. Being patient sucks. I think about the marshmallow test with the kids. I'm sure you've heard of this before, but the experiment where they put kids in a room and said, hey, we'll give you this marshmallow now. You can eat it, or you can wait 15 minutes and we'll bring you another one. And many of the kids ate the marshmallow right away. Some of them waited a few minutes, but then ate it. But there were a few that they did wait, and they got 2 marshmallows in the end. And a couple things that are interesting there. One, that study continued to follow the people throughout their lives, the people who both ate the marshmallow and who waited until they got a second one. And the people in the group who waited, they were successful in almost everything that they did, from their careers to their relationships to all their endeavors. And the other group that ate it right away, they struggled with some of those things. And so it's kind of an interesting concept to think about, is patience played into the success of those kids. It's just a simple test, but they saw a lot from it. They got this data back that said, like, hey, the kids who waited were much more successful. And I think there's a few reasons why. The first being that anything great that you pursue requires patience. You're not going to get it overnight. And so if you think that that's the case, if your mindset is wired for instant gratification, you got to throw those thoughts out there, because that's not how it works most of the time. And I wish it did, but it doesn't. The second thing is, people who are patient are able to be more resilient, because there will be days when you feel like you're knocked down. There will be days when it feels like you're making no progress. There's days when you don't get the answers that you want. But if you're able to stay patient and have a positive mindset through this time, it'll get you further. And so if we bring this back into training, this block has taught me a lot about patience. Patience to recover, patience to trust the plan, and patience to let the miles stack up. Because even on runs, when I'm going for long distances, it takes patience to keep going, because it's sometimes you're like, man, I could be doing so many better things right now, but really, can you? Like, it's just a question you got to ask yourself. But you have to be patient. You have to be patient if you want to see any of your goals through. Because that work, pillar number one, that's going to take time. Like I said, it's a daily effort, a weekly effort, a monthly effort. And you have to be patient to see those results. And then with consistency, the same thing. Like you have to be patient to see the results. There's this Stoic idea that is pretty interesting and I love it. And it says, nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. And that's patience. Because the truth is, progress probably will be slower than we want it to be. And that's okay. Can you stay in the fight when there's no gratification? When there's no instant gratification, you have to wait and have delayed gratification. Can you have delayed gratification? That'll set you apart. That'll make you a stronger person. In your career, if you're working for a promotion, do the work and don't expect a reward until that promotion comes. Just dig deep, focus, put your head down, and keep working. Same thing with fitness goals. Like you need to show up every single day. My buddy, his name is Tyler, DJ Take Two, but he started running probably a year ago, I think. He's been running for a while now. And Tyler, if you're listening to this, I apologize, but he wasn't like out of shape. He just kind of looked like a normal guy, right? And now he started running. He started being really consistent, and he's been lifting in the gym. And he posted a picture on his story, and he looked freaking jacked. So I sent him a message. I was like, dude, you're jacked. What happened? And he's like, yeah, I've been throwing in a few weightlifting sessions at the gym. And I'm like, that's awesome. But that didn't happen overnight. That took, like I said, probably a full year to get there. And he's resilient. He's patient. And now he looks like a different person. It's awesome. And so the thing with patience is it always requires you to ask yourself, like, are there things that I'm rushing right now? Like, am I frustrated with anything that's not happening fast enough? My advice to you there is, if that's kind of where you find yourself in, is having those kind of thoughts, like, what am I rushing? Or where am I frustrated? Like, why aren't things moving so fast? I would say slow down. I would tell you to trust the process and to be patient, because the results are coming. You just don't know when. And if you have the patience to be able to see it through, if it means enough to you, you will be patient. You'll be consistent. You'll do the work. You'll find support when you need it. And you'll fuel yourself to be able to get there. Those are the things that have made this training block for me much different than my first ultra marathon. It's because I have structure. And a lot of the times with getting after it, I'll tell you these things that have helped me, and I'll bring on guests to tell their stories. But one of the most important things that I've learned through doing this is the importance of structure. Structure with podcast episodes, structure with the business, structure with fueling, structure with my runs, with my goals in life. But I broke it down to these 5 things. Like, what are the most important things that I believe are going to affect this training block? And I came up with the work, with the fuel, support, with consistency, and with patience. It was those 5. And that was the basic structure I took into my ultra plan. And I said, if I can follow these rules, if I can work on each of these individual buckets, basically, I will have a much more successful race. And I think that's the case. I've put more time, I've put more thought into it. So I'm excited to see what happens. But like I said, I know this podcast episode, I talked a lot about running. And those 5 pillars have carried me through. But it's not just about running. It's about living as well. Like, each of these areas that I've talked about, it matters when you show up. It might matter the most, honestly. And if you have a goal that you're going for, if you have something in mind that you want to achieve, I would tell you to pick one of these 5 pillars, just one of them, and apply it to your life this week. Do the work, fuel right, lean on your support if you need to, stay consistent, and choose to be patient. Because at the end of the day, That's really how we move forward. That is how we grow. Before I wrap this up, I want to read something that my dad sent me yesterday. He said it was from a coach. I can't remember where, but I really liked what he said with this. And it kind of shifted a perspective with me, with how I think about achieving goals or pushing myself. And I hope it does the same for you. But here it is. What a privilege to be tired from work you once prayed for. What a privilege to feel overwhelmed by growth you used to dream about. What a privilege to be challenged by a life you created on purpose. What a privilege to outgrow things you used to settle for. That last one hit me hard. What a privilege to outgrow things you used to settle for. Growth is uncomfortable, but think about where you came from. Think about how far you've come. And recognize that where you're at now is not the end. It's just a beginning for another growth spurt. Like you might feel like you've been stagnant for a while. And maybe that's a sign for you to level up your game, to push yourself just a little bit more. There's nothing wrong with that. That's life. So I hope that some of these things have helped you guys. I try and put a lot of thought into these podcasts just because I want them to be beneficial for everyone. So I hope it was for you. And if it was, please leave a comment. That always helps on Apple, Spotify, or even YouTube. All those things help. But I would love to hear from you guys if there's any topics you would like me to cover, anything like that. So always let me know. But I appreciate you guys listening. This podcast would not be a thing without you. So as always, keep getting after it. Thanks, guys.